Hi, everyone. I'm very excited for this conversation with Dr. Katie Ricciardi, the founder of Digestion by Design. So, fun fact, we are local to one another. We haven't met in person yet, but it's coming very soon. And so, I'm
Yes.
really excited to dive into all the work you're doing here locally, but then really focusing on your business and really the origin of. I know that so many of us, myself included, used to really struggle or do currently struggle with IBS. And so you had a history of IBS, migraines, reflux, being tired, and all the things. And so, what was the pivotal point for you that made you think, okay, whatever I'm doing is not working and I have to figure this out? So, kind of dive into all the things.
Yeah. So I would say the pivotal moment for me was twofold. First, when I had to plan my day around like, how do I feel? And do I think I can make it on a car, run to go do an errand? Like, what's my stomach going to do? What kind of unpredictability am I in for today? And then when I was trying to, find a provider that would listen to me. And then when I was met with, well, just take an anti-anxiety pill. And that's about as best we can do for you
Wow.
because your CT looks normal, your MRI looks normal, your ultrasound looks normal, your labs look normal. So maybe you're just anxious and you're stressed. And so just take this and relax. I was like, I'm not an anxious person. I don't think that's the path. And this is the best that we have. There has to be something else. So that was really the biggest catalyst for me to say, you know what, my training, my education has not gotten me the results where I need to. So I really need to flip the script here and go down a new path. So that's what started me really down the whole functional, integrative, root cause, holistic path, even more than I already was. So that was, yeah, I would say the biggest pivotal moment for me.
Yeah, well, and then go ahead and dive into your background because I think it's important to really hear, you have this huge background in nutrition and I think that a lot of people are starting to see the holistic lens in a much deeper perspective. So go ahead and tell us what all you do.
Yeah, so my undergrad degree is in nutrition. So I'm a registered dietitian nutritionist. And then I did that for a couple years and realized that I wanted more. And I had my own car accident trauma history. So I ended up going back to grad school. And I'm now also a doctor of physical therapy. And so when I was working in the PT clinics, so much of the conversations came back around to food. I feel like this, my arthritis flares. I've noticed, these different things happen. So started those wheels turning. I had always wanted a private practice, even when I was in undergrad, excuse me. So I was just feeling like those stars were aligning for me. And that was really, I would say the seeds that were planted then, just hearing all of these things, no matter what setting I was in, no matter what I was doing, food was the conversation around it. And then pairing my own IBS, migraine, acne. Oh my gosh. Like, so now it explains it so much as far as, the acne that I had, the IBS that I had, all the antibiotics that I was on, going back to ear infection, strep throat as a kid, all of that, really putting it together now. It just makes such a
Wow.
difference. And now it makes sense, right? Like that diet for diagnosis model in
Hmm.
undergrad, that's just the conventional way of learning. Okay, you have hypertension, so therefore you do a low sodium diet. You have diabetes, you get an 1800 calorie controlled, carbohydrate controlled diet. And that's it. As if everyone is just the same. We're completely ignoring lifestyle, stress, sleep, what your environment looks like, just history, stress, trauma, all of that. And we're not cookie cutters. We're not carbon copies of each other. And all of that really needs to be taken into account. And so seeing that shift from, okay, this is what I was taught. And I thought, I was doing all the things like for myself. Okay, the low FODMAPs for IBS,
Mhm.
it's not working. Like maybe there was a little bit of relief, but definitely not to the point where, hey, my quality of life is where I want it to be. So having that shift back into putting it all together now
Right.
to having the private practice that I have where I'm not practicing as a PT, but still using that knowledge from the anatomy and physiology perspective, the fascia, where we hold stress in our body and how that affects things, our emotions, all of that. It makes such a difference now from that holistic looking at you as a whole person. You're not a diagnosis because the paper and the person with symptoms just definitely don't match. And so I feel like it's just such a much better fit where we're really going after quality of life, getting answers, root cause, all of that kind of stuff. It's such a difference.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, and the big thing with nutrition is that we are all so different. And so I'd be interested to hear what were the common connections you were making in physical training or physical therapy that you really see today?
So with like arthritis conditions, that being a huge one, like joint pain, just muscle ache, low energy, just feeling, I'm having a hard time getting over whatever it is. I don't have the energy to get through, my workout or whatever. Bringing those pieces in from an inflammatory perspective, because that's really where I focus now on that inflammation level. When we can really address that, it affects, okay, my joint pain's gone. So maybe I didn't need to strengthen. I just needed to take care of the inflammation. And now my knee pain, my ankle pain, my foot pain, my hand pain, whatever it is, now that's resolved to, a significant degree. So I definitely think that there's still a place for, PT, strengthening your muscles, doing all of that kind of stuff. Like that's definitely super important. But if we just look here and not there, then can we really get to those levels that we want to get to?
Yeah. Well, and I mean, most people know about inflammation, but what are the common misconceptions that people don't know about inflammation?
I think that, if you just eat healthy, if you eat clean, right? Like that's the biggest thing that women come to me with. Oh, I'm eating clean. I'm not doing anything processed. And people will show me like their history, their journals, all of that kind of stuff. But yet I'm still not feeling better. So what's going on? And it's like, just because the food is good for you, right? Like, hey, avocados are great. But if your immune system thinks that it's an inflammatory, it's a problem food, then that can provoke your symptoms. So just because it's good for you doesn't mean it's good for your body, your specific circumstances. So I feel like that's the biggest misconception, that all you have to do is eat clean, right? And then so many of your problems are
Mhm.
going to be taken away. Now, I'm not going to discount that, because it definitely will make a difference when you clean up the quality of the foods that you're eating. For sure, that's going to make a difference. But when you're still doing all of the
Yeah.
things, right? Like all the things that we see on social media, all the things that you're told, and something still isn't clicking, that's when, let's dive a little bit deeper.
Yeah. Well, I think you just made a key distinction that everybody's body, that's really, anyway, it processes everything so
Yeah.
differently. And, we always think that what's healthy for everyone, right? And you just nailed it. Like, eggs can be good for one person and totally
Yeah.
destroy another one. And so your method and approach, are you doing testing to help find these biomarkers, or how are you helping clients figure out, is an avocado good for me or not?
Yeah. So I will start with inflammatory testing, where we're actually looking at foods and food chemicals. And we're checking that
Mhm.
immune response. How many of those chemical mediators are being released into the bloodstream that can then go everywhere? And so, from migraines, headaches, down to joint pain, eczema, really anything. So much of what I focus on, just because of my personal history and being able to be in someone else's shoes and have that deep level of empathy, that's where I focus more so, like IBS, Crohn's, and colitis. But this inflammation level, that really
Mhm.
goes anywhere, just
Sure.
all over the map. So anybody that has anything going on, I think that inflammation can play a role. And when you start looking at the research where, maybe there's not a direct surface level link, but you start putting the pieces together and pulling those threads together. Okay, this condition is linked with these inflammatory markers. And then, okay, we can have food that's
Mhm.
releasing inflammatory mediators too. So let's bring those two things together, because they both have this common denominator of inflammation here in one way or another.
Wow. Well, and that kind of leads me into the midlife questions, because we're seeing all the things out there about midlife and hormones, and like, it's great, don't get me wrong, it's really great that we're starting to have these discussions, and I think it can go both ways, right? It can always help inform us, and it can always help it can always inadvertently make us dismiss certain traditional methods of this
Yeah.
approach. So how have your own experiences shaped the way you show up now for your clients when it comes to that midlife shift? Like, what are you looking at differently in this season?
Yeah. So, I mean, getting, now on the other side of 40 by a few years, it's so interesting to see, like when I turned 41, 10 pounds came out of nowhere. It's like, I haven't changed anything. What is going on here? So then digging a little bit deeper into that, and that's a very common thing. And it typically gets dismissed like, whatever, no big deal. But your hormones are changing. They absolutely are, right? Maybe it's not like a significant degree. Like I've had experiences where, we don't test those things. What do you mean you don't test hormones? Why not? So I started putting that together in the digestive health piece, because when we're thinking about the microbiome, so much of what's happening in the microbiome can affect our hormones. We think about thyroid, right? Like our thyroid can slow down. And then when you're thinking about that, okay, I noticed that for myself. Like I'll run labs on myself, and my TSH was great for like the longest time. And then again, right around that like 41, 42 mark, my TSH is starting to creep up. Like, what the heck is going on here? So like, okay, these are those subtle things. Maybe it's still within normal parameters from the conventional perspective, but in an integrative side of things, like, okay, my TSH was like hitting around 4.5 is standard, that's going to be normal, but integratively, it's like 2.5, we're above that, then we need to start paying attention to it. So having more of that proactive, let's really figure out what's going on through food, yes, but then what can we look at from a hormone perspective? Are you stressed, right? Okay, maybe you are in this kind of sandwich generation where you have parents that you're taking care of, and that caregiver role and your life, your lifestyle, all of these demands that are on you can affect what's going on the inside. And so often it's just, I'm fine. This is what I'm supposed to do. I'm the mom, I'm the wife, like I'm the caregiver. And we put all of these burdens on ourselves. And then you have kids and schedules and school and homework and activities and all of that stress that we don't perceive because, we're just supposed to handle it all. On the inside, what is that doing? So cortisol, what is that looking like? Blood sugar. I talk about blood sugar with everybody because it matters so much. It's not just, let's save this conversation when you have diabetes. Like, no, if you're healthy, let's talk about blood sugar, balancing it so that you have better energy, so that you're not going for the Snickers, the cup of coffee at, that 2 to 4 window in the afternoon where we have such an energy crash. So I always like to counsel the clients that I work with, how would I treat you as if it was me? If I was going through this, what would I be doing? Because I feel like I carry such a heavy responsibility, like I want to see you succeed. Like I take your health as seriously as I do my own. And I'm not here just to like put you through the process and see what happens. Like I am deeply invested in what's happening with someone because I want them to feel as good as they can, because I know how awful it can be when you're just, changed to your house because you're not sure what's going to happen that day. So
Yeah. Well, and so many of us do have the 2 to 4 crash where it's like, okay, I'm going to take a nap. And one thing that you mentioned that I had recently I was going through an old course of mine, and just the nervous system regulation aspect of our lives, and how we tend to operate at a certain level of, and I call it understanding, but an energy. Like it's like we think that this high level of stress is normal, or we have normalized it within our body, so we think we're okay. And so, slowing down can be like, oh, but I'm fine, and then you crash for like a week and a half, and you wonder. um, and I love that you're so passionate from a deep caring, and like you've been there, you've walked the walk, you understand what it's like to be so frustrated and not heard. And I think that's what elevates your practice and allows clients to really come in and ask those very vulnerable questions, because nobody wants to admit that they're struggling with, their weight, or even struggling with their energy. Because as women, we think we have to have everything together. And men too. I'm not saying that men don't go through this, but so you really think about the reality of living with digestive struggles as the leftover lifestyle. So can you share what this means and why it resonates so
So
strongly
I
with
coined
you?
that phrase because it seems like, speaking from the mom perspective, because mostly who I work with is women, largely they're moms. And so they're taking care of their kids first. They're taking care of their house, making sure everything, is going well. They're trying to take care of their husbands in whatever form or fashion. They're a caregiver, maybe to their parents or another family member. And they have so much on their plate. And then they put themselves on the back burner. And so often, like I'm going to say maybe 8 out of 10 times when I have an initial conversation with someone, Yeah, I've been dealing with this for like 5 years, but now we're in a position where I can pay attention to myself. We had to get my kids through preschool and potty trained and whatever it is through the sports season. And now I can take care of myself. All the while, I was struggling with these
Yeah.
things, needing to, map out my travel for my son's travel baseball, and I had to figure out where all of the
Mhm.
bathrooms were along the way, right? And it's like your quality of life is being affected because
Yeah.
that's going to stress you out in one way or another, which then compounds the problem. So this leftover lifestyle is a soapbox that I will get on, that we need to take care of ourselves, right? Like there's that standard, you can't pour from an empty cup, right? So if we have our cup that's
Yeah.
full, then we can give so much more to others instead of just kind of giving from this place of, all right, I have scraps to give because I'm so tired. I'm so mentally and physically worn out. And now this is what I can do. So
Mhm.
having, the shift in perspective of, if I take care of myself and do what I need to do, it's not mom guilt, right? Like, let's let go of that. You can show up in such a more elevated place and do the things, be, who you want to be, do what you want to do, have what you want to have. And so that's my soapbox for sure.
Yeah. I love it. Well, at first I thought you just meant because that's what we all grew up on. But but in two, to that point though, is that we have been trained and conditioned as women, especially, to be the caregiver of others first. And maybe you're the doctor I need to study this with me, but I'm really convinced that women hit perimenopause because it's the body's physical way of making us pay attention to ourselves.
Yeah.
From an energy place. I'm like, well, we've been giving and giving and giving, and our body's like, nope, guess what? I'm gonna make you
Mhm.
do this. But anyways, like I think too, you're speaking so powerfully about we don't want to have things come to a whole crumble moment before
Right.
we're seeking help. And it's so easy because we're busy, and taking time out to go see anybody, including yourself, means we have to schedule it, means we have to prioritize it. And so I think being able to look past all of that and think ahead to be like, man, I wouldn't have to stress so much about, oh, I'm going to go eat Thai food and I might like have to leave,
Right.
or, oh,
Yeah.
I'm going to go drink, all these things that we know really disrupt our digestive system, even though we like probably should avoid certain things and we choose not to. But again, to your point, can you kind of dial into the gut microbiome a little bit, because we've had so much research coming in about why this is important and how it affects our brain health. And so I would love to understand how it helps with the fog and the energy, and maybe just some foundational elements that people can understand as to why to pay attention to this.
Yeah, so I would say from that very foundational level, gut and
Mhm.
brain are connected. It's now said with all of the research with the microbiome and all of the bacteria that we have, basically more bacteria cells than we have like human cells, that's what's really running the show. And so the gut is like our second brain, and what happens, mentally, emotionally up in our brain can affect then along that vagus nerve what's going on in the gut. And so there's such a link there. Depression, anxiety, those are two huge ones. Stress, we know when we're stressed, it slows down our digestion, that vagus nerve,
Mhm.
our fight or flight response, that part of the nervous system, that's kicking in there. And so our digestion is not a priority. And so from that microbiome perspective too, we know that largely in the gut are neurotransmitters made, regulated. They're going to really be affected by what's going on from an inflammatory perspective. So bringing it all together here, paying attention to the gut, as I like to call it, it's like the hub on a wheel, where we have, here's at the gut level, and then all the spokes are different body systems that are connected, right?
Mhm.
So if we have that visual there, if we start at the gut as our foundational health strategy, then
Mhm.
that has, just far reaching implications.
Yeah, you hit something that I love to highlight for people, because our nervous system dictates so much of where our nutrients goes and does not go, and how
Yeah.
well that system even functions, and we
Yeah.
don't realize it. And I think what I'm hearing you say is a lot of your practice helps really integrate how to have a healthy balance within stress in your life, because the moment that you try to balance out that as much as you can, right? There's not going to be this perfect balance.
Yeah. Right.
It helps your digestive system in so many ways. And can you describe a little bit further why, or really the effects that stress has on the digestive system alone?
Yeah, so leaky gut, right? Like that's the most popular phrase that's out there
Mhm.
now. So when we think of that, stress, our immune system, it's going to affect our
Mhm.
immune system. A lot of our immune system is in our gut. And so what starts to happen over time is when we have this inflammatory reaction that's happening, we get these little junctions, right? So if we think of all of the little villi, right, we know that our intestine can spread to the size of like a tennis court. And so it's compressed inside of our little body. And so it has all these peaks and valleys. And then we have the junctions, and you can think of them as if they were our knuckles. So we want to have these nice tight junctions here so that anything, toxins,
Mhm.
parasites, pesticides, just any of that kind of stuff can just pass right through the system. But
Mhm.
when we start to have this stress, inflammation, this whole cascade happening, then it starts to open up. So then now we're
Mhm.
starting to get things through into the bloodstream throughout the body that we don't want to be there. And that's where we can start to see those chemical mediators hit different body parts and start to create the symptoms. I see it a lot, migraines, headaches, things like that. The skin, it'll start to show up. So definitely just stress doesn't just stay in the gut. That's the biggest catalyst as far as those tight junctions and then starting to see those connections into the rest of the body.
Wow, it's so interesting how our body reacts to everything in our
Yeah.
environment, but
Mhm.
even just thinking about it like that and thinking that it's allowing these things to, flow through our system and cause damage, and that's why we're seeing I think that's why we're seeing the increase in cancers and different other types of illness and chronic illness. And even just thinking about that, that makes me want to just have you dive in a little bit further on how you're helping people move from coming in with leaky gut to the transformation of actually feeling better within their body.
So one of the biggest things, and it shocks a lot of people, is that we actually start with mindset. So we're not
Hmm.
just diving in, okay, let me write you a meal plan. And I feel like that's one of the biggest misconceptions, that all dietitians just do calorie counting and meal plans, which I
Mhm.
can't be any farther removed from that. Like doing that is just no, thank you. It doesn't work. It's not
Funny.
realistic, just not sustainable. So that inner management, right? We hear the phrase so often, stress management. Okay, but that really implies that we need to manage the stress, like keep it on our plate and just manage it, move it around, whatever it is, just welcome it in. But if we can change our perspective on things and our mindset, then that has a lot of benefit too. Where, you know what, maybe I used to really react when my kids would be fighting. Okay, they're tying shoes, one stole the other one's shoe, whatever it is, right? Like you're in a situation, okay, and you used to yell at them in the moment or get mad or whatever it is, and you can just feel the heat rising in your body.
Right.
Or, you know what, maybe I'm just gonna step away, I'm just gonna remove myself, it's not worth it. And then having that ongoing inner dialogue where you're talking to
Mhm.
yourself, right? Looking at it in the third person. How is this gonna benefit me? What is my reaction doing? You're not really going to think about, my cortisol is going to spike, then my insulin is going to spike, then I'm going to hold on to fat. You're not thinking about that, but this isn't good for me to get myself so worked up in this moment. And so, how do we get out of that? And
Mhm.
whatever it is, or maybe it's something like I get upset, or I've had a hard day, I've had a busy day, a stressful day, whatever it is, right? Those things that we say. So I'm going to, instead of going on the walk that I wanted to, I had no energy left for that. So I sat on my phone, I scrolled, and then I had some ice cream. And that, the emotional eating side of things is something that it takes a little bit to get out of women. It's like, it's okay. Like I've done it. I mean, we're human. It's okay. We know it's not like the
Right.
sustainable thing to do every day as our natural response, but it happens. So it's okay. And then there's like this wave of relief. Like I can almost feel it where it's all right. Let's move forward. This is what we now know we need to work on. We don't need to keep secrets. Like this is what I'm here for. So moving that perspective forward, that's the biggest thing. Reframing our beliefs. What are our limiting beliefs around these things? Like I can never, improve my gut health because I've tried so many other things before. Well, a lot of
Right.
that was surface level. We're not digging deep enough. So that inner management, I think, is such a huge piece of it that often gets overlooked. And I spend a lot of time there. And even throughout the time that I'm working with someone, we'll keep bringing it up. How are you feeling about this? What is this situation doing? How are you now, connecting your symptoms with what that situation was, our habits,
Mm.
how we change them, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and then that's like the true root cause of so much of our ailments are the reactions that we undergo. And
Yeah.
it is that we haven't ever slowed down long enough to pay attention. That's like
Right.
90% of it.
Yep.
And it's insane the way that your whole life can shift when your perspective shifts. So I love that you incorporate that type of work because it's actually what is like the gift paying forward to this person because they
Yeah.
are changing so much in their life. Well, Kate, what are you working on in this season? Do you have any big announcements or events that you are like putting together, anything like that that you want to share with everyone?
Yeah, actually, I'm in the process now of working on this constipation clinic. So this is a big, big, big complaint among women, especially in their 40s and 50s. And so I recently presented at a pelvic floor
Mhm.
meeting, and this was a lot of the conversation, how this is, man, pretty much the biggest complaint that women have, especially in their 40s,
Mm.
stress. I mean, there's so many things that we've talked about that ultimately can end up from a digestive perspective being constipation and bloating. Those are the biggest two. And then how do they affect your life, your relationships, all of that kind of stuff. So I'm putting that together now. It's going to be a 6-week virtual course. Enrollment actually is going to be opening up next week for it. So I'm really excited about that. I'm actually also going to do a workshop next Saturday at Balanced Physical Therapy up in Charlotte off of 51 Pineville Matthews
Mhm.
Road. So we're going to be up there next Saturday doing pelvic floor, digestive health, primarily talking about bloating and the digestion questions, as I call them, to walk women through that. So if you're local to the area, you might want to check that out. I can post the link, share it with
Yeah.
you as well. So those are two big things that are coming out.
Oh my gosh, that's exciting. And, it's something again we don't want to always talk about. And that's the
Nope.
thing is like it's a big part of our it's a big part of our life. And it's important, right? Like our health is just so important. And the more we learn, the more we empower ourselves to make those choices differently. And so that's super exciting. Okay, if people want to learn more about how to work with you, what is the best way for them to connect?
So right now, I would say you can email me, Kate at Digestion by Design. My
Mhm.
website is up, Digestion by Design. It's undergoing a little bit of a revamp at the moment, so not the greatest. I mean, the information's there, but it's going to be better about different programs and things like that. And then Instagram,
Yeah.
Digestion by Design, also on there, and on Facebook and here on LinkedIn. So these are
Yeah.
all the places that I am.
That's amazing. Well, and I know that you also run or help co-lead a local women's networking group. Do you want to just briefly tell us about that if anybody's interested in that too?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm the director of Ladies Lifestyle Network Fort Mill, and
Mhm.
that is a women's empowerment, personal development networking group. And we have events every
Mhm.
month. Our launch event is actually coming up on Thursday, September 25th, and that's going to be at Hoppin in Rock Hill. And we have a featured speaker every month, and we have a nonprofit every month that we support with a portion of our ticket sales. And then we have featured businesses, and there's many ways to get your business involved for that, whether
Mhm.
it's being a sponsor or a featured business with a table at the actual event. So having those deeper, meaningful conversations is really great. I've been doing this since June for the Fort Mill, Rock Hill, Indian Land area, and I'm really
Awesome.
excited to bring it to this area because there really isn't anything like that around there. And
Yeah.
so it's a really great, intentional, community supportive women that want to be your cheerleaders, see you succeed, lift you up. Really, really just supportive. I've been so thrilled at how the events have been turning out and the momentum moving all of this forward. So that's going to be really exciting as well.
So we'll make sure to get all of the information put into all the places. Thank you so much for your time. What's one thing you hope listeners take away today?
To release the guilt, take care of yourself, and realize that you can't compare yourself to anybody else.
Mm. Yeah. Oh, that was so good, and it was, like, right to the point. I love that. Like, I think, again, we are ready to start putting ourselves first more and
Yeah.
more often, and we're seeing it, and so thank you again for your time. Thank you
Thank
for everyone
you.
who has joined, and we will see you next time.